about this. How many of you have woken up Monday morning, it's time for class, and you say to yourself, oh, it's going to be one of those days. I hate Mondays. Anybody been there before? Say yes. And then mom and grandma said bad things happen in threes. Does anybody have that mom and grandma? And you started counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they kept coming. And at the end of the day, what happened? You said it. I knew it. I was right. It was one of those days. See, your brain went on search to make you right. And if you don't believe this, think about this. Let's say tonight we were actually going home. And you're in a rush to leave. And you get in that car. And you got an appointment to make. How many red lights you going to hit? Every single one. Why? Because your brain said, I'm in a rush to leave. I'm going to hit every red light. And that's what happens. Or let's take it one step further. How many of you bought a new car in the past? Or maybe even just recently? And you got in that car, and you turned on the ignition, you started to drive away, and next thing you knew, everybody in your town was driving the same car. Have you ever noticed that? And what was your brain saying? See, that guy or gal's one smart cookie. Great minds think alike. They picked the same car as me. They must be smart. I made the right decision. See, your brain is going to make you right on a regular basis. It's like a giant computer. It doesn't know. It just goes on search. So for some of you people who work with computers, and you know GIGO, G-I-G-O, garbage in, garbage out, it only knows what you put in. Well, it's the same thing with your brain. Well, I was driving up through Maine, and some of you may have been in Maine before, and Maine is a beautiful scenic drive. Picture driving up 95, and the snow has just melted. There's a little bit out there, but the trees are blooming. It's beautiful. It's mountainous terrain, and you're close to the Canadian border. Well, I drove up to Maine, and I got off at 95 in a town called Presque Isle, Maine. Has anybody ever been to Presque Isle, Maine, or heard of Presque Isle, Maine? A few of you have. Well, Presque Isle, Maine is about 5 seconds from the Canadian border. It is way up there. See, when I get to Maine, I'm thinking lobster. How many of you are thinking lobster when you get to Maine? See, I'm thinking lobster when I get up there, but I don't know where to go. Well, I get off of the highway at Presque Isle, Maine, off of 95, and there's one of those little tourism booths. You've all seen those before. You know, when you enter a new state, it says, welcome to Maine or welcome to Florida, and they've got a little tourism booth there with the candy machines and everything, but they also have every map, every restaurant, everything that you could ever imagine in that place. Well, I walked in, and there were these two elderly ladies, and they were walking around. I said, listen, could you help me? I'm looking for some places that I can get some lobster. I'm looking for some maps and some restaurants. Well, these women couldn't serve me any better. They went and they grabbed me maps, and they grabbed me all kinds of restaurants, and they were ready to make reservations for me. It was incredible. I had this feeling of love and appreciation from them, and you know what? If you give to get, you're even. If you give expecting nothing in return, you're going to be ahead of the game. Well, I'm the type of guy that I'm just a huggy, touchy, kissy guy. I don't know. That's just who I am. Well, I looked at this woman. She couldn't have been a day under 75 years old. And I said, get over here and give me a hug. And I gave her this big hug. And when I let her go, she looked at me and she said, I really needed that. I was married for 52 years, and my husband passed away a month ago. You don't know how important that was for me. You never know when giving that appreciation to someone else is going to have a major difference in their lives. And you know what? You got to go from the gut. If you can't, then you must. And if you must, then you will. See, you want to affirm to yourself every day what you want to have happen. Because we already discovered if we say it's going to be one of those days, we're going to be right. And it's going to be one of those days. So I had everybody stand up with me. And I'd like you to stand up with me right now. And what we did was we decided to change the way we viewed things. And we did an affirmation. See, because you're going to come up against things that you're not going to think you can overcome. And when you do, you need to say to yourself, I can, I must, I will. So repeat after me. I can, I must, I will. Is that the best you can do? Let's try this again. I can. I must. I will. You're almost there. Let's try it one more time. I can. I must. I will. All right, I know you can. Sit down. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well, I was down in my office in Kendall, and I got to meet the ACA inspector, a former colonel in the Guatemalan army. True. Well, he sat across the desk from me, and I'm a bit of a schmoozer. I like to talk to people. So I started to attempt the schmooze. If you don't know what the schmooze is, I was just being as nice. Can I get you coffee? Can I Simonize your car? What would you like? What do you need? Let me go grab some patient files for you. I've already selected the perfect files. They don't want those files, though, do they? They want to go in your drawer and take out the files that they want to take out. Well, I sat there, and then one of our doctors came in. And one of our doctors, he's a board-certified, Johns Hopkins, Cornell Medical School, Mount Sinai. He's got all the credentials, double board, internal medicine and neurology, and he could schmooze anybody. Not our Guatemalan security colonel. He just sat there completely stone-faced. I had this weird feeling that I might fail my first inspection. Now, how do I share this information with my partners? This is my baby. I'm supposed to get us passed, certified. I'm the guy who had to go out and get, the maps that you have to have in your office so we can escape in case of a nuclear disaster. ACA wants to know where the record's going to be. If you got a nuclear disaster, how do we get out of here? Well, I'm starting to get the beads of sweat on my forehead. You ever feel that way? Oh, my God, I better start looking for another job. Well, he looked across the table at me, and he started shaking his head, and I said, you know something? I said, I run my facilities like you would run the Guatemalan Army. I said, see, I've done personality profiling for Air Force Intelligence at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They bring me in every year to sit in front of people, ask them questions, and me to see if they're telling the truth or not. I've done this for years. As soon as I said that to him, a smile came across his face. Oh, you work with the Air Force? Yes, I do. Actually, I work with the Air Force and the Army and the Navy. I've spoken around the country on different bases. Well, if that's the case, let me take a look at some. Your records look very good to me. See, I had to bond with him. I found out something about people. I found out that people do business with people who they like, who are like them. That you will spend more time with someone that you like and someone that you like to work with than someone who you don't. Well, it was 1997 in St. Louis, Missouri. It was a gorgeous fall day, and I had the opportunity to speak to an enthusiastic group of leaders just like yourself. In fact, it was the National Fall Leadership Conference for the Future Business Leaders of America. And I happened to be one of their workshop presenters. The title of my workshop was Goals, How to Get Everything You Want Out of Life. See, as I've traveled around the country, and in fact traveled around the world, I've asked people the same question, and this is a great question. So guys, if you want to have fun tonight, or when you get home, this is a great question. I have asked people 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, I say to them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you know the number one answer that I get? I don't know. Let me give you a piece of advice. I learned this first year in school. It was somewhere after gross anatomy and right before neurology. You ain't coming back. You may come back as a fish or a frog, but you're not coming back as you. So if you're not doing what you love to do, you better do something different. Have a fabulous conference, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again.